him. Ask for George Woodward, 601-540-3728 or 601-948-5835. Churches, businesses, promoters, let WMPR get the word out. The listenership, the power, it's here for you, and we are waiting. Call sales representative George Woodward, 601-540-3728. That's 601-540-3728. We have the power of WMPR 90.1 FM.
Good crowd. Look like the good people that makes the law.
Unity Learning Center. Unity Learning Center, better known as ULC, the place where we teach, we don't babysit. The home of Little Johnny, located at 6045 Highway 18 West in Jackson, Mississippi. We're open 6:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. We serve breakfast, lunch, and a snack. Our teaching curriculum is a beta, one of the best, serving children 6 weeks to 5 years old in our preschool. Let's not forget about our after-school care, serving children 6 years to 12 years old. Your search is over for childcare. It stops right here because you found Unity Learning Center. For more info, it's 601-922-6003. That's 601-922-6003. And ask for Mrs. Armstrong. WLBR is proud to have Unity Learning Center as an underwriter.
WMPR Jackson 90.1 FM, serving Central Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Arkansas.
It's 7 a.m. and skies are shining. So talks money, the future's alive. Grab your coffee, let's take a ride. It's wealth and wisdom, time will fly. Author, Mr. Educator, sharing the wealth of things you should do. From trust to banking, it's all a must. Your guide to what is money to trust. Let it be nice, secure it right. Dreams take shape with ever insight. Wills and assets, life insurance plans, building for your future with expert hands. Sometimes money and more, living well, knowledge will provide. Protection plans to grow, dream and watch your dreams overflow. Take the days to transfer life, breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, making tips, we're here to help your fortune eclipse. The biggest days to transfer life, breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, making tips, we're here to help your fortune eclipse. And now it's time to learn, so wisdom's your return. Invest, protect, and thrive for sure. Signing off is go talk money and more.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's time to rise and shine for another edition of So Talks Money and More. I am your host, Dr. Sabrina Edmond Williams, educator, author, and investor, opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted, and I am so excited and delighted to be here with you on this second Monday in Women's History Month. Thank you, thank you, thank you to my WMPR and WGDQ listening audiences and my YouTube viewing audience for tuning in today. I certainly appreciate the continued support. This morning, I am just full, Mr. Armstrong. I had a great weekend, and you asked me a question in the last hour about the significance of this month. Women's History Month, and I'm all excited to talk about it as I had planned to actually have some guests in studio each Monday in commemoration and in celebration of Women's History Month, as well as our contributions to this nation. However, things don't always go as planned, and my guest for today was unable to be with me, but that's okay. We're going to improvise this morning. I want to talk about a couple of things, and I'm going to start with women's history, but we're going to finish with some other important business that we have to talk about. So I want you to remember this name, Amelia Boynton. I say that name, and if I say that, does that ring any bells with you, Mr. Armstrong? Have you ever heard that name, Amelia Boynton? You saying no, you're shaking nodding your head, and the audience, listening audience can't see you, but It's not a name that many of us may recognize. However, it has significant impact on our history, not just women's history, but on Black history. Amelia Boyton. I'd like to just kind of share with you what I did over the weekend. So, this past weekend was the 60th Jubilee, if you will, that commemorated Bloody Sunday, which occurred in Alabama, Selma, Alabama to be exact, on March the 7th of 1965. Wasn't that long ago. It may seem like it, but it wasn't really that long ago when Black people did not have the right to vote. Now, of course, we know there were several groups, or we may recall from our history, several groups such as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, uh, and others, Dallas County Voters League and SNCC, the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, and many other churches and local leaders that were not satisfied. As Fannie Lou Hamer says, and you've heard Dr. Williams say it many times, they were sick and tired of just being sick and tired of and accepting the status quo, so they decided to do something about the situation. And at that time, as we all know, nonviolent protests were being done all over the country to protest the conditions that we as a people found ourselves in. And so a group of people decided that they were going to protest the fact that we did not have voting rights. And as I say, on March the 7th, 1965, a group of about 600 non-armed individuals decided to march from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama to the Capitol in protest of the fact, again, that we as a people did not have the right to vote. What started as a non-violent protest ended very badly on Bloody Sunday, 60 years ago. Several people were beaten unmercifully at the hands of Alabama state troopers and a posse of individuals that were determined that we would not succeed. I told you to remember the name Amelia Boyton. Sister Amelia Boyton suffered terribly at the hands of the Alabama state troopers, as well as those others that beat individuals as they dared to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The Edmund Pettus Bridge. I had an opportunity 10 years ago to go over to Selma, Alabama, when there was a commemoration, and I say that, I dare not say celebration, commemoration of the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday and the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And in my estimation, there were probably about easily 1 million people there from all over the country. We had the honor of being in the presence of several high-profile dignitaries, including the sitting president of the United States at the time, President Barack Obama, as well as former President George W. Bush, and also Congressman John Lewis, who was one of the ones who dared to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge on March the 7th, 1965, in the march to Montgomery, Alabama. Now that trek is about 54 miles, Mr. Armstrong. It's not an easy journey, but they were determined that we would have the right to vote. And as I say, Sister Amelia was basically beat unconscious, and there were several images. Emmett Till here in Mississippi was an image that was plastered all over the media to bring to light the injustices that have been done to many individuals here in Mississippi. And Sister Amelia was no different. Images of her frail, beaten body were broadcast across the nation to see just what was going on here in the South. 2 days later, the group, undeterred by the events of Bloody Sunday, dared to march across the bridge again, and they were met again, yet again, with resistance. But at this time, they were being led by Dr. King, and they were turned around. It's called Turnaround Tuesday. There was a federal injunction that was issued that prohibited the protests from continuing. All for the right to vote. All for the right to vote. About 2.5 weeks later, on March the 21st of 1965, the group, again undeterred, decided to take that journey from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama. And this time, over a 3-day period, they were successful. And not only did they take the journey, they were accompanied by the Alabama National Guard at the bequest of the federal government. Even in spite of Governor George Wallace's efforts, they were accompanied safely from Selma, Alabama, 54 miles, to Montgomery, Alabama. Bloody Sunday. I had a chance this past Saturday to yet again, 10 years later, walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I was not met with any resistance. I was not impaired in any way. And it was my honor, Mr. Armstrong, to walk across that bridge in remembrance of the sacrifice that so many individuals have made, so many that have paved the way for me, you, our families, to have the right to exercise our vote, to have our voices heard, to be a part of the system, to participate. And I want to encourage all of those of you that are listening to the sound of my voice today, especially here in the city of Jackson. You know, you have an election coming up to select the leadership of the city for the next 4 years. And it's up to you to determine whether you will make your voice heard. You see, the reality is there's nothing impeding you. There are no dogs, water hoses, pipes, none of that will you be met with when you dare to exercise your right to vote. So I have to encourage you not to take this moment lightly. If you the thought even considers or enter your mind not to vote, if you have that thought, why should I vote? It doesn't matter. My vote doesn't count. I want you to remember the name Amelia Boynton, and I want you to think about her sacrifice. I want you to remember all of those who dared to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. One of the things that Dr. Williams didn't tell you is the significance of that name. And you know I'm an educator, so I got to educate my people. That bridge is named in honor of a Klansman. In fact, the head of the Klans over in Alabama, Mr. Edmund Pettus. That bridge bears his name. What a name. What a legacy. Think about it. That name will forever, ever be connected to Bloody Sunday. That name will forever be connected to the injustices that were done, committed there on that bridge on Bloody Sunday. What a legacy he left for his family. What a legacy he left for generations to come. And with that, I'm going to go ahead here and make a shift since we're talking about legacy. I had an opportunity while I was there in Alabama to interact with people from all over the country. If you have not had an opportunity or taken the opportunity to visit Selma, it's not just done every 10 years. They commemorate Bloody Sunday every year. I encourage you to do it. It's only about a 3.5 hour drive from here to Selma, Alabama, right up I-20, straight highway, easy to get there. I'm going to encourage you to do it. One of the things that I was very pleased to see, Mr. Armstrong, while I was there were several people, as I say, from all over the country, the children that they brought there, and the fathers that were educating their children on Black history. There were many that were taking the children to the different monuments and different areas and really just talking to them and sharing the story of our legacy and the legacy of those that have gone before us. And that was very encouraging to me. Dr. Williams has said many times that I am a firm believer that it's nobody else's responsibility to tell our history. Nobody else's. If our children don't know our history, that's on us. Why are we complaining about it being taken out of the textbooks at school when we've taken it out of the homes, when we're not doing what we need to do to share our history? Here in the South, there's so many areas, right here in Jackson, Mississippi, capital. We have so much rich history, so many things that we can learn from. If we don't know it, there are many opportunities for us to learn our own history so that we can pass that on to our children. So I want to encourage you to take the time to take your children, take your grandchildren, and teach them their history. Learn your history. I entitled today's show, Invest in You, and I want to issue the challenge for all of us to invest in ourselves, invest in our community, learn more, do more, be more. Your legacy. What type of legacy will you leave behind? Will it be one of education? Will it be one of giving, of sharing? Will it be one of adding value to your community? After all, it is our community and our responsibility, and we have a responsibility to do many things. As I say on Bloody Sunday, many citizens, just like you and I, and even young folks, young people, talking to the young folks, 18, 19, 16, 15, that Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC as it's called. These were young folks. Congressman John Lewis at the time was a young man when he was beaten on that Edmund Pettus Bridge, Bloody Sunday, March the 7th of 1965. What are our young people doing today? What are they standing up for? What are our belief systems? Sadly, when I look around, I see a lot of us that appear to be more interested in being entertained than we are educated. And we wonder why we're in the shape that we're in. We're interested in being entertained. There is no investment in self, very little investment in self. And we wonder why things are the way that they are. I'm not here to rebuke you. As Dr. Williams always says, I'm here to open minds, not necessarily to make you think what I think, but definitely to challenge you to start thinking and thinking differently about the future that you want, the legacy that you want for yourself, your family, and your community. I was happy to see so many people, talk to so many people from all over the country, and I was very happy to share the work that I have been doing over the last year, my efforts to start a conversation within the Black community on the importance of building, protecting, and transferring wealth. And that was very well received by the people that I interacted with over in Selma, Alabama. People wanted to know, what is learning to trust? What is that all about? And of course, Dr. Williams was happy to share the messaging, the mission. I'm also happy to share that with you, our viewing audience and our listening audience. I'm here today again, yet again. I find myself at an end and a beginning. I started Learning to Trust Estate Planning Boot Camp about 6 weeks ago. I'm at the end of my first session, and I'm so happy with the legacy that I am creating for myself, a legacy of education, of trying to help my people to feed into my community, to better my community. The investment that I have made into myself and the investment that I am making into my community. I challenge you, each one of you, to think about, what are you investing in? Are you investing in you? Are you investing in yours? I challenge you to think about that. Now, statistically, we know that only about 30% of us have taken any efforts to make sure that we've done the things necessary to ensure that our wealth passes on from one generation to the next generation. We've not done a whole lot in that area. So there are 70% of our population, which translates to about 25 million people, you guys. 25 million people, and maybe you're one of those 25 million that have done absolutely nothing. I'm not here to rebuke you, but I am here to let you know that there is a better way. Some things need to change in our community, and Dr. Williams is here to help you if you will allow me to. If you are willing to make an investment in you and yours, if you're willing. Things are changing, people. Times have changed. January 20th, within a matter of hours, all of those sacrifices that were made on Bloody Sunday were literally stripped away with the stroke of a pen. So the world that your children and your grandchildren will inherit will inevitably look a lot different from the world that many of us inherited. What are you doing to ensure that your legacy is secure? What have you done? 70% of us are sitting around waiting to die, basically. And then our families are stuck trying to figure it out. Trying to figure it out. How do we move forward from here without a plan? Where was the plan of action that was taken to ensure our legacy? To ensure that our families have the necessary things in order to not only succeed, but to succeed well. What are we doing? Where's the investment in us? Where's the investment in our community? You've heard me say it once, you'll hear me say it again. We control anywhere from 1.3 to 1.8 trillion dollars annually, people. Money is not the issue. Money is not the issue. It's the education piece. It really is. How do we manage our wealth? You think about it. Children go through 12 years of school, the primary level, no courses on financial management, financial planning, none of that. Then we send them to college to learn how to earn money. Hmm. No courses on financial stewardship, financial management. And then we send them out into the world and we tell them to go figure it out. Hey, I did it. You go forth and you figure it out too. How do we ever build generational wealth within our communities without a plan? A plan. When there's a plan in place, the execution of the plan is a lot easier. I go back to January the 20th of 2025. Within a few hours and the stroke of a pen, a lot of things changed for all of us. But guess what? It didn't just happen. There was a plan in place. There was a plan. People had started planning years in advance for what happened on January 20th of 2025. I implore you, my community, to think about your plans, your legacy. Are you willing to invest in you and your knowledge? An investment in you, an investment in your community, an investment in your legacy. We have the resources. We use them to do everything else we want to do. Go everywhere we want to go, eat what we want to eat, when we want to eat. But where is the investment to help us to really learn the things that truly matter most? Where is that willingness to invest? I had a caller last week that called in and he wanted to know what the options were. He said, Dr. Williams, I hear about all this protest and don't spend at Target and don't spend at Walmart and don't spend at all these different places. Well, exactly what are we supposed to do with our money and what are the options that we have? And I'll say it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 3 times. The best investment that any of us can make is an investment in ourselves, an investment in our community. That's the only way that things are ever going to change. That's the only way that things are going to get better for Black people. We've got to start investing in us. So, as I see, my time is winding down. I just want to encourage you. As I say, I'm wrapping up the first session of my Learning to Trust Estate Planning Boot Camp. Those individuals that went through the boot camp started 6 weeks ago, and after tomorrow, they'll be able to look back and say, I don't have to worry about my legacy and making sure that my family has the knowledge and the things necessary that should something happen to me and I become incapacitated or God forbid that I pass on, I leave my family wondering and worried about how to handle things because I put together a plan. So for those of you that may be interested, whether you're in South Mississippi and you're hearing my voice, whether you're here in the Jackson area or in radio on YouTube land, want to invite you. I'm going to take this call right quick, then I got to go. WNPR, you're on the air. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Tom Bird.
Yes, sir.
As usual, a great learning listener. I listen to you every Monday morning.
Thank you, sir.
And it's very important that everyone out there that's driving to work or getting up in the morning time understand that it's one thing to go get a check. It's another thing to receive a check, especially if that check is your check, that you can invest it in yourself over time so that not only you can enjoy life, but your future generations after you can enjoy life.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to commend you on the great things that you have always been doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I needed that word today. I certainly thank you. And I don't want to intrude on Mr. Henderson's time. So I'm going to have to go ahead and end right now. But thank you. And you have a wonderful rest of your Monday, sir.
You too.
Thank you. Now, my time is coming to an end, and I certainly thank Mr. Bird for that word of encouragement this morning. I've got to make room for Mr. Tim Henderson. I know he has a lot of things to say this morning, but I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today. I hope you will take the words that I've spoken and the name that I've spoken, Amelia Boynton. You know, many of us know Black history. We know Dr. King and maybe a few others, but trust me, there were many, many, many more that sacrificed, again, for us to have the right to do what many of us take for granted, a right to participate in a process. Many of us take that for granted. And I challenge you, I implore you, as I say, we have an upcoming election here in the city, an election that will determine the course of the city over the next 4 years. Don't be lazy voters. 19 different options to weigh. We want you to ask yourselves, ask the candidates the questions that need to be asked, and ask the good Lord to give you the wisdom to make the best selection. Remember to follow me on social media at I Am So Noted, and I'm streaming online at WMPR90.1.com and 93.1 WGDQ.com. Join me right here next Monday at 7 a.m. for another edition of So Talks Money and More. Peace.
Rise and shine, so talks money, the future's alive. Grab your coffee, let's take a ride. Then wisdom, time will fly. Mr. Educated, sharing the wealth of the things you should do from trust to begin.